Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to start a vlog style wrap up, so stay tuned. So I haven't filmed a wrap up in a long time, so I thought I would try this vlog style wrap up and we'll just kind of see how that works. So I'm starting filming this on January 6th and I already have all of these books knocked out this month. So first off we have Something Red by Douglas Nicholas. Honestly, I don't even really know what this is supposed to be about. It doesn't really tell you much of anything on the back. It just says an intoxicating blend of fantasy and horror. It transports you to harsh, unforgiving world of 13th century England. An evil and age-old force stalks the countryside. It sounded like it would be really interesting, but I got like 30 pages into this and just couldn't read anymore. So Douglas Nicholas is apparently a award-winning poet. He writes very descriptively. I think his writing probably goes better with poetry, being flowery and descriptive. Maybe not so much with this novel. It is a little overly descriptive for me, which I found in previous books like Stone Mother. That's kind of a problem for me. It just goes on and on and on about things that don't matter in the book, like describing what all's at somebody's table and things like that. And I just wasn't feeling it, so I decided to DNF it. It got 1 star from me. Next up, Xander and I completed Keeper of the Lost Cities Lodestar by Shannon Messenger. This is the 5th book? Yes, the 5th book in the Keeper of the Lost Cities series. Absolutely love this series. It follows a girl named Sophie who is raised as a human but turns out to be an elf and ends up with all of these abilities she never knew she had. The only one she knew she had, she thought it was just a normal thing, and she was telepathic. But she can do so much more than that, and she's pretty amazing. And I tell everybody, if you're fans of the Harry Potter series, I definitely think that you would enjoy Keeper of the Lost Cities. It also deals with lots of topics like grief, adoption, guilt, a lot of different things like that. So good. These are chunker books, by the way, and they're middle grade, and they're fabulous, and I love them, and I gave this 5 stars. Next up, I listened to the audiobook of Illusion by Claudia Gable and Cheryl Clam, and this book really surprised me. This was a book that I came across randomly on Book Outlet. I thought it had a pretty cover. It sounded kind of interesting, but I had never heard anybody talk about it. I just didn't really have high hopes for it, and that's why it sat on my shelves for like 2 years. But I finally got around to reading it and it surprised me. I loved it. It's set in a world where outside's not really safe. You have to wear like oxygen masks and things like that. The O2 levels are out of this world. Nature is kind of, well, it's unsafe. It's falling apart. You can't go to the beach and really relax and things like that. You can't go out for a hike out in nature. So our main character, Regan, her father created this app called Illusion. It's a virtual reality world where you can escape and go to the beach or whatever. And all of your worries can just drift away, and it's nice and relaxing, and it's a fabulous place to go. And then her father dies in this terrible accident, and somebody else takes over the business. Next thing you know, there are teenagers that are going into comas and people saying that illusion is the cause and that it is addictive and it's causing problems. And Regan is like, no, my father did not do this. He would not be okay with something that he knew was not safe. And she was defending it, but she hadn't been back in Illusion since right after her father died. So she thought, okay, it's time to go back in and see if what people are saying could be true. And what she learns while she's there is far from what she would expect. and this was so good, and I gave it 4 stars. And then, oh my gosh, my heart. I finished A Court of Wings and Ruin, and oh my gosh, I was bawling. This is the 3rd book in A Court of Thorns and Roses series, and oh, I love it so much. I don't really know how to describe this series, so let me see. The first book is Beauty and the Beast inspired. It's not really a retelling. You can tell the retelling part in like the first half of the book, and then it veers off from there, and it's its whole on separate thing. This series is so amazing. Farah, she was human. She hunted this wolf, and turns out the wolf was actually Fae, and then she's taken into this Fae world as sort of a repayment to be a slave, and she quickly realizes that slavery is not what they intend for her. They intend for her to break this curse, and gosh, that's really all I can think I can tell you without spoiling anything, because that's all like in the first tiny little bit of the first book. But I highly recommend it. It's fabulous. My heart, I have fallen in love with all of these characters, not just our main characters, but also all of the side characters. I feel for all of them, and oh, when good things happen, when bad things happen, I feel it for them, and oh, it's so good. Also, there are some serious sexy times in this series, and I do appreciate them. I know that there is some controversy involving the sexy times in this book, but I think this book is meant to be new adult, not YA, because YA is more under 18, and new adult is like 19 to 25 or something like that. And Farah in the first book is 19 years old, so it is definitely not for a 12-year-old to read for sure. But I gave this 5 stars. Absolutely love it. I give the whole series 5 stars, and I cannot wait to continue reading more from Sarah J. Maas. I think I've been told that there's more books to come, but a publication date hasn't been released yet. I am so there for the next book. And that's it for now. I'm not gonna do little end clips for each of these. So throughout the month, I'll just pop in and say, hey, I just finished reading, blah, blah, blah. Here's what I thought, here's what I rated it. And that'll be it. And I'll just cut the clip until the next book. I hope you guys enjoy this. We'll see how it goes. It is still the 6th, and I have finished yet another book. I finished Etherworld, which is the sequel to Illusion. Again, I give this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this little duology. It was a lot of fun. I'm not going to really go into what Illusion's about because I literally just finished that one and told you about it. But I am happy with the way this ended. Even more twists and turns that I didn't see coming in this one than what I found out in the first one. So, big thumbs up. Today is the 7th, and I have completed the graphic novel version of Infernal Devices Book 1, which is Clockwork Angel. I give this 4 stars. If you don't know, the Infernal Devices is the second Shadowhunter series, and it's set back in London in like 1880 or something like that, in the 1800s. And I am a huge fan of the series, of all of the Shadowhunter books. This one I give 4 stars because, well, it worked well as a nice like refresher to the book, but I definitely prefer the actual novel. However, I will continue reading the graphic novels because I want a refresher of the whole series without having to reread the whole series right now. Okay, so it is the 10th and I have completed 2 more books. First, I completed Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. This was one of my Once Upon a Book Club box books. This was actually the New Year's Up All Night box. This is about a woman named Morgan. She, at 17, gets pregnant. Her and the guy get married. Married 17 years. The child that they had is Clara, sorry. And fast forward 17 years later, Clara thinks her mom is boring and predictable and she doesn't want to be anything like her. Her parents are super strict and Morgan absolutely doesn't want Clara to make the same mistakes she did. And the glue for this family is the dad, Chris. And well, Chris is involved in a tragic car accident, and if that's not bad enough, a lot of things come out that just totally throw everybody's world into a tailspin. And this book was so emotionally draining reading. It was very, very hard for me to read for reasons, and there was a lot of tears while reading this book, and just thinking about it makes me want to tear up. I ended up giving this a 5-star. Yeah. And because I wanted something light and fluffy and not sad in any way whatsoever after that, I picked up the graphic novel Spell on Wheels by Kate Leth, Megan Levins, and Marissa Louise. This is super cute. It's about these 3 witches who had their house broken into and somebody stole a whole bunch of their magical things, and then they were trying to sell them on the magical black market, or they were selling them on the magical black market except for certain items. So they go out on a road trip hunting down their items and kind of helping the people that ended up buying them, not knowing that they were buying stolen goods. So they help these different people along the way, while also hunting down the guy that broke into their house and stole their stuff. So along the way, they meet up with a pervy artist guy who's trying to steal people's creativity. We meet a housewife whose husband passed away, and when he passed away, she moved on with a woman, and it's this woman that she has had feelings for a long time but didn't pursue because she was married to this man, and now that he's passed away, she wants to move on with her true self, and her husband's ghost is not happy about it, so they help with exorcising said ghost. There's also a meet-up with a goat man. Goat man. And this one I think has the hots for goat man. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. When I finished reading this, I gave it 4 stars, and then I also looked to see if there were more, because I would absolutely read more about these girls. It seems like a lot of fun. It's like, I don't know, for some reason it kind of gave me witchy Giant Days vibes. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's the girls. But there is a volume 2 coming out either June or July of 2020, and I'm looking forward to reading that. So it is Saturday, January 11th, and I need to catch you up a little bit on some of the books that I have read. So I forgot to tell you, I think it was on the 6th, I believe, I completed Delirium by Lauren Oliver. I was listening to the audiobook of this, and I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It's about a world where love is considered a disease, and they use religion, they use propaganda, they use all kinds of stuff to show that love is bad, and you have to have the cure when you turn 18, and if you refuse to have the cure, you're either executed or put in jail. And our main character, Lena, she's all about it. She wants to make sure her friend stays on track and doesn't get in trouble and doesn't get diseased by love. And then she meets a boy and starts to see what love's really about, and that it's not as bad as the government and the other people in control seem to think. Because, you know, teenage love. So that is what this series is about. Also them being on the run and trying to hide the fact that they are now diseased with love. So I finished this the other day, and then today I finished Pandemonium, which is the second book in that series, and hopefully tonight I'll start, though I don't know if I'll finish it tomorrow or not, Requiem, which is the third book in the series. Also today I finished Back to the Future, Untold Tales and Alternate Timelines, Volume 1, and this is by Gail Barber and Burnham. I give this 5 stars. I loved it. It doesn't retell the Back to the Future stories. It doesn't change any of their stories. It's other stories that you just don't see in the movie, or it answers questions that you might not have seen in the movie, like what happens when, you know, what caused the DeLorean to get messed up when Biff had it, or what Doc Brown had to do to get the DeLorean flying, how Doc and Marty first met, things like that. And I loved it. So yeah, I gave this 5 stars. And I forgot to tell you, I gave this one 3.5 because though I gave Delirium 4 stars, I liked the first one better than this, and there was something that I predicted at the very beginning, actually closer to the end of Delirium, that would happen in this, and it absolutely, that's how this ended. So it didn't come as a surprise to me. I saw it coming the entire book. So yeah, this one got a 3.5, but like I said, I'm really looking forward to reading the next one. So at this point, I have now read 11 books in 11 days. And now I'm like halfway through 4 other books at the same time. So fingers crossed that I can do this. So it's Saturday the 18th, and I haven't checked in with you in a little bit. So I've completed 3 audiobooks and 1 physical book since the last time I checked in. First, Marty and I finished Incarceron by Catherine Fisher. This book was weird, and it's the first book in a duology. It's about, Incarceron is this prison, sort of, almost like an experiment where they supposedly created this perfect world, and then they put the people in it, and now it's like 160 years later, and it is not the perfect world that they were led to believe. We have 2 main characters. We have Finn, which is a boy on the inside of this prison. He has memories of being outside of the prison, but everybody's like, that's not possible because this place has been here for 160 years. Everybody in it was born in it. And then our main character on the outside is a girl named Claudia. She's the daughter of the warden of Incarceron, and she's trying to find a way into Incarceron. And it's interesting, but it's very strange. And I think I gave this like 3 stars. Next, I finished Requiem by Lauren Oliver. This is the 3rd book in the Delirium series, and I think I give this a 3.5 as well. The ending was kind of weak for me. I mean, the story overall I enjoyed, but yeah, it kind of fell flat towards the end for me. Now, the next audiobook that I listened to has some serious similarities to the whole Delirium series, and that is Acid by Emma Pass. This is set in a world much like Delirium, where love is not really a thing, and acid, which is like pretty much the government or the police force or whatever, they decide when you like get partnered, who you partner with. They set out your life for you, what job you have, all of those things. And our main character, Jenna, is the only girl in an all-male prison, and she's like 16 or 17. And well, she was wrongly imprisoned and breaks out and is pretty much on the run for most of this book. And she's trying to figure out what the truth is, what really happened, why she was put in prison, and who is really to blame for her parents' death, because that's what she was put in prison for. And I think I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed the audiobook of this. I happened to find it on Scribd. I know it's only on Scribd until like February 13th or something like that, but it's told in multiple formats. So we have like news articles and police reports and things like that. So if you liked that kind of aspect in like Sadie by Courtney Summers, like listening to the audiobook of that, and you enjoyed that, you would probably enjoy this. Also, if you enjoyed the Delirium series, you would enjoy this. And yeah, I really did. I gave it 4 stars. And then the physical book that I read was A Heart So Fierce and Broken by Bridget Kimmerer. Oh my gosh. This book was freaking fantastic. I gave it 5 stars. If you have not read A Curse So Dark and Lonely, or if you have read that and you haven't read this one, you need to do that. Oh my gosh, they're so good. Okay, so A Curse So Dark and Lonely follows Ren and Harper and trying to break the curse. It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. This book follows Commander Gray and what happens following the events of the first book. And oh my gosh, Gray is now my book boyfriend. I love Gray very much, and I am dying to know what happens next. Like, I can't believe I have to wait an entire year for the sequel. I need it now. So that's where I'm at with my reading. I think I've completed 15 books at this point. I've kind of given up on my idea of completing 31 books this month, but I am still going to try to complete as many as possible. However, 31's probably not going to happen, but I'm still going to read my booty off. So yeah. Alright, I will check back in when I've completed something else. So it's January 20th and I listened to another audiobook. I've done a lot of audiobooks this month, but yesterday I was working on a little craft project and listened to an entire audiobook while I was doing that. I started and finished An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson, and I think I give this 3.5. I enjoyed it. It was good. It didn't blow me away or anything like that. But after having read like recently the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, this didn't really, you know, hold up to that series. And I'm kind of comparing them because of the fairies and all of that. But this is about a world where fairies and humans live side by side, and fairies very much covet crafts that humans can do. Cooking, sewing, painting, that kind of thing. And our main character, she does portraits, and she makes the mistake of painting human sorrow into the prince's eyes when she is commissioned to paint his portrait. And well, that's really what this is about. It was okay. It wasn't fabulous. It wasn't bad. It was entertaining, and it was fairly quick. I think listening to it at like 1.5 5 or something like that. I finished it in about 6 hours. So it's January 22nd and I finished another book. I just finished Wilder Girls by Rory Power, and I give this 3 stars. It wasn't a bad book. It wasn't a fabulous book. It just wasn't really my kind of book. It's about this private school that has been infected by something they call the Tox. And the school's been quarantined. It's on an island by itself, and they're flown in supplies. And these girls have, well, most of the kids have died. Most of the teachers have died. And now there's just a few remaining. And they're taught how to shoot and stuff, so they have to like guard the school from the animals, because the animals have also been morphed into weird things. And these girls have stuff like they're growing scales, or growing a second spine, or gills, or a second heart, and essentially they're being experimented on. And it's weird. It's kind of gross in parts, and yeah, that's really all I have to say about that. It's not really my cup of tea, but if you like the weird, gruesome kind of things, you would probably be interested in this. But I gave it 3 stars. So it is currently January 23rd, and I have finished 2 more books. Yesterday I finished The Infernal Devices Clockwork Prince by Cassandra Clare, and art by, yeah, I can't say who it's by, but this is the manga edition or graphic novel. It's in black and white except for the very beginning. It's in color. I gave this 4 stars. It was fun read. It was a good quick recap that because I want to go through these stories again before Chains of Gold comes out in March, and so this was a great way to do it quickly. Plus I hadn't gotten a chance to read these, but I still prefer the actual novels. I gave them 5 stars, but this does get a 4-star for me. And today I finished How to Travel the World on $50 a Day, Travel Cheaper, Longer, Smarter by Matt Kepnes. This book, I have it all like tabbed up with notes that I've taken throughout, is so incredibly helpful. I absolutely will be taking this with me over the summer when I go on a trip. I've already used some tips from this book when booking my flights and stuff, or some of my flights, and have saved a ridiculous amount of money, and I'm super excited about it. Yeah. And yeah, I give this 5 stars. It is incredibly useful. So I haven't come and checked in a while. I'm not sure exactly how long it's been since the last time I vlogged any of this, but it's currently, my cat's going crazy, but it's currently Friday, January 31st, and this week I have finished a lot of books. So I think it was Tuesday I finished reading Starry Eyes by Jen Bennett, and I gave this 5 stars. It kind of broke my heart. It's about a girl who, gosh, her mother died when she was young, and then her father remarried, and she's grown to love this woman that she calls her mother now, and discovers that her dad has been cheating on her. And to kind of escape dealing with all of that, she goes on this camping trip with a group of friends, and there just happens to be a boy there who they used to be best friends. They were best friends from the time she moved there all the way up until the year before, when they were supposed to go out on this date, and she got stood up, and they haven't talked since. And he is on this camping trip, and they kind of butt heads for a good part of it, until they start really working out what actually happened. And oh my goodness, that relationship was fun. That was I enjoyed that part of the story. What broke my heart was the family drama part, and her mom dealing with everything. Yeah. So that was on Tuesday. On Wednesday, I realized that I had checkouts available on Hoopla from my library, and I wanted to use those up because at the end of the month it resets, and you only get 5 in a month, so I wanted to go ahead and get some, check out some now, and then if I could get to them, cool, but if not, those are extra ones kind of that I would have. So if I checked it out, it gives it to you for 3 weeks. But that doesn't deduct from my 5 from next month, even if it rolls over into that. Anyway, so I checked out Dear Pen Pals by Heather Vogel Frederick. This is the 3rd book in the Mother-Daughter Book Club. Now, I thought this was a middle grade series because the first 2 books, we have the Mother-Daughter Book Club, and then the second one was Much Ado About Anne. They and this one are all set middle school. However, future ones are not, because what I've learned is they follow the girls for each year. So the Mother-Daughter Book Club was in 6th grade. Much Ado About Anne was in 7th grade. Dear Pen Pal was 8th grade. And then Pies and Prejudice is 9th grade. Home for the Holidays is 10th grade. Wish You Were Air is 11th grade. And then the Mother-Daughter Boot Camp is their senior year of high school. So it goes all the way through. And that is really cool, I thought. And I've really enjoyed kind of getting a glimpse into these characters' lives. And their discussions about the book that they're reading in their book club too is makes me want to read those books. For the Dear Pen Pal, they were reading Daddy Longlegs. I never heard of that classic ever. In the first one they were reading Little Women. I've heard of that. The second one was Anne of Green Gables. Heard of that. But Daddy Longlegs I'd never heard of. And Daddy Longlegs is about a character who is put through college by some anonymous donor. And one of our characters in here, Jess, she is nominated for this scholarship by an anonymous person and wins it, so she gets to go to this private school. And also the girls end up becoming pen pals with another mother-daughter book club in Wyoming, I think. And so they become pen pals, and yeah, I'm really enjoying these stories, and I ended up giving this one 4 stars. And because I finished that in just one day, on Thursday I listened to the next one, Pies and Prejudice, which I'm guessing you can figure out from the title. They read Pride and Prejudice. And the Pies and Prejudice is because one of our characters, her family moves to England for a year, and they still continue their mother-daughter book club kind of from abroad via webcams. And the girls want to surprise the one that's in England, Emma, with a ticket home for spring break. And they start this little bake sale thing where they're selling pies, and they named their business Pies and Prejudice, and it was really cute. And I gave this one 4 stars as well. I think I actually give this one 4.5 stars because had I not been in public when this certain event happened that happens in here, I would have started crying. Sander had a dentist appointment, and I was sitting in the waiting room and I was listening to this, and I felt myself tear up at something that happens in here. And it's really good. So that was yesterday. Last night, after dinner and everything, I picked up a graphic novel, and I picked up The Infernal Devices Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. It's the last in the graphic novel manga edition. And again, it was a nice recap. There's a really, really, really emotional scene that if you've read this series, you know. And when I read it in the novels, it just, killed me. And in here, it was just like a page and it was over, and there was no heart, like rip my heart out kind of feelings with the graphic novels. And I don't know, I give them 4 stars. I love them, but they just don't hold the same weight for me that the actual novels do. And then today, I finished 2 more books. So first thing this morning, I finished my buddy read of Game of Thrones. I think we took like 10 days or 2 weeks or something like that to read this. And okay, so let me start out with saying I give this 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it. It was a bit confusing at times because there are so many characters. I wanted to read this series because, well, I've heard a lot of people talking about it and talking about this show as well, and I wanted to read it before watching the show. However, I feel like because there are so many different characters and so many different things going on, that I might actually enjoy this more as the show than the books, which is a weird thing for me. But I think this might be better as a show, in my opinion. But I am going to continue reading the series. I would like to, in February, like watch all of season 1 now that I've read this. And then I'm thinking in March we'll read the next book. But yeah, the way this ended was just like, wow. And there are certain characters that I absolutely just adore. I really like Arya. I think she is strong and smart and fierce and brave. And she's just a little girl. And then there's Tyrion. And Tyrion is freaking hilarious. Like, oh, I didn't mark it. His chapters were some of my favorite. He's such a character and he's so funny. And I feel like he's got a really good heart too. At least from this book anyway. And then there's Dany. Or Daenerys, but Dany. And that poor girl, she just can't get a break. Everything like the bad that could happen to her is happening to her, and I just I feel for her. And then the way this book ended, I was just like, I need to know what happens next with her. And then I had 1 checkout left from Hoopla, so I went ahead and used it, and I read the next mother-daughter book club. This one was their sophomore year of high school, and it's Home for the Holidays, where they're not actually home. Everybody leaves and goes to different locations. They also do this Secret Santa swap that kind of goes awry and causes a lot of drama. And it was really fun. And oh, that's shiny. I also give this 4 stars. The more I read these, the more I enjoy them. And I feel like I'm going to reread these at some point. But when I do, I want to read the books that they're talking about before reading each book. So this one, they were reading the Betsy Tacy series. And Never heard of it. Though it's funny, while this was on my currently reading on Goodreads, Goodreads recommended me the Betsy Tacy series, which was pretty funny. But it seems like it's a series very similar to their own lives, and I thought it would be an interesting read at some point. But yeah, I think I'm going to go and read all these different books and then reread this series. I think that'll be fun. Okay, so now you have seen everything that I've read this month. Honestly, I don't know if I can show it all in the viewfinder. Let me see. Oh, that's falling. I can't. I tried to pick them up. It wasn't working. These are the 25 books that I read in January. Have you read any of them? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you.